Hey everyone, I think I'm live, hopefully. So as always, if you're seeing this, please leave a comment so I know things are working as expected. If you're watching a recording, welcome. If you're live, welcome. I'm just going to be doing a live stream of my Medium income for August. Somehow we made it to September, unbelievably, which means that the August paycheck came through for Medium. And I I always avoid looking at my stats and my money throughout the month because I found early on that if I focused on my stats, like as I was trying to write new articles, I would just get really hung up on how much they were earning, like if I could replicate that, mistakes to avoid. And I found that I'm happier and coincidentally earn more money if I worry more about writing stuff that's interesting and fun for me rather than stats. But that being said, it's also pretty fun to have like a monthly reveal for myself. For the screenshot for this thumbnail, I actually made my mom take the picture so I could avoid looking at it. So it would be a special surprise. Expectations for this month, I'm hoping it's going to be a little better than last month. I mean, last month I still made nearly $1,000, which was incredible. But this month I had a couple stories perform really well. I know this because my single metric is that people like tweet stories and I get like the notification on Twitter. So if I see a lot of tweets tweeting my story, I know that it got pretty widely viewed. All right, I'm going to assume that everyone can see me and can hear me, and we're just going to launch right into the live stream. So let's see. How do I add? Oh, there we go, share screen. All right. Okay, can everyone see you should see my Medium homepage. You can tell I never look at my stats because I have like 30,000 unread notifications. But yeah, let's see what's going on for this month. I wrote 8 stories and okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get a pretty good month. I didn't realize I had that many views, which is great. So yeah, so if you have this Medium plugin and Medium Enhanced Stats, it's a Chrome extension, and it is so helpful. It shows you like claps, and it also, for me, the most helpful thing is it shows you when you wrote a story. So you can see like on this day, for whatever reason, I was very creative and just published loads. But overall, August was a pretty thin month for me, 8 stories. Okay, I'm ready. I'm nervous. I'm ready. I'm nervous, but I'm ready. Okay, September and August. Wow. $2,000. That's my number for August. For 8 stories that I wrote. That's amazing. I'm just taking a minute to process that. It's a good thing I put this all in savings because I'd have no idea how to spend that much money in one go. All right, let's see what contributed to it. Okay, so this was the story I wrote that like low-key, I think that was responsible for the big spike we saw in the stats earlier because that's a lot of money. But this story I actually wrote back in May. So you can see I've actually earned $3,500 from this story total. And even though I wrote it in May, I still somehow earned $600 in August. I'll see what the stats correspond to for that. I got it in Mind Cafe, one of my favorite pubs. What did I try to do? Did I just go to the stats? All right, well, that's annoying. Never mind. Wow, 12,000 claps. I was planning on seeing like how many views came in this month versus the first month, but yeah, so this story, once we go to August, this story, it was my first viral non-listicle, so I was actually so proud and happy that I started getting so many people tweeting it and stuff. That was really exciting. So that was 1/5 of my, I mean, these 2 stories alone, the listicle that I wrote back in May and the TikTok post, that's like half of my earnings for all of August. And then this was the other one I thought did pretty well, 7 Traits of Subtly Toxic Friends. But again, it was a listicle, so I was like less happy when I started seeing that. I mean, I was obviously very grateful, but you know. All right, I'll stop rambling now about how much money I've earned from my stories. One thing I really like to do in this is try to be transparent. I know that money is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but I want to be as open and honest and transparent about writing on Medium, earnings, and everything else as much as I can. So if you have questions for me about money, stories, my favorite brand of tea, I got asked that on another live stream, and anything else, please feel free to post in the comments. I would love to answer. And if not, no worries. You don't have to post any questions, and I will just leave you to get on with the rest of your Saturday. All right, let's see if there are any comments. Hello to Nick. I see he said hello 3 times. Hi, Ola. Nice to see you again. Dr. Kamal says he made about $3 in his first fortnight with 4 articles. I love to tell the story of my first month on Medium because I made $3 in my whole first month on Medium. And I mean, look how far we've come. It's been a journey. It took me 2 years to get here, but it was, I mean, worth every penny, worth every hour of typing. Zuli, no, somebody asked, Zuli, how are you? Jojo, I'm doing pretty well. I only got 1 cup of coffee. Normally I get 2, but somebody snaked me out of my 2nd cup. So a little undercaffeinated. Saurabh sends they're going to write today. Good luck on writing. It's always such a feeling to hit publish on a story you finish. How many words should one story have? There's no minimum. You can write like a single word story if you really want. Not much of a story because it's just 1 word. And I've seen people write like literally 1,000-word stories, like many thousands of words. I tend to stick between 800 to 1,500 words for my stories, but that's just my sweet spot. Any advantage of using an American pen name over an Indian name? Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that, Akash. I mean, my experience, Zuli is not like, Zuli is a pen name, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. Zuli is not an especially American name, and I've done pretty well. I've also seen people with very, very non-Western names, like Amardeep, for example. I interviewed him the other week. He's done fabulously well, obviously, and he's got a very Indian-sounding name, although he's British. My curation rate, Ratna, I don't know, actually, but we can have a quick look at my stats and just have a quick poke. So the fastest way to see if something's been curated is if you see this little tag up here. My 3-step plan to make money by writing fiction on Medium was not curated because it's about Medium. No surprises there. But before that, all of these have been curated. Okay, so this one wasn't. Again, I wrote this one about Medium, so I'm not surprised. But I just want to show you, like, curation isn't everything either. I wrote this one. This one got curated in like, this one, oh, this was such a disappointment. This one got curated in a ton of different topics, like 5 different topics, and it made me a whole whopping $8, like 500 views. Absolutely garbage. Not garbage. It was really fun to write, but you know. So yeah, pretty high curation rate. I would kind of guess maybe like 80, 90%, something like that. What about writing in Spanish? Writing in Spanish, there is actually a community of Spanish writers. There's this guy whose name is Emmanuel. I can't remember his publication name. Javier, if you write a comment on this, on like a proper comment, not a live chat comment when I finish this video, I'll comment to you the publication of Spanish writers that I know of. Non-English stories don't get curated, but there is a market for non-English writing. So it's just because it's not going to be curated does not mean you won't get read. And honestly, I think, you know, if you think about it, Medium didn't even pay people 3 or 4 years ago. And I mean, now they pay, I read $2 million a month to writers, editors, and publications. I saw this on their last update. So even if they don't curate Spanish speakers, Spanish writers now, that doesn't mean they won't in the future. And you'll have a much better chance of being firmly established if you start writing in Spanish now, gain followers who know what to expect from you, get better at writing, understand the ins and outs of Medium. And then when they start curating Spanish writers, you'll be at the forefront of that pack. Ola says, I started my own publication and actively add targeted readers. I went from 0 to 72 weeks. Is this a good approach for self-owned publication? I'll be honest, publications are my weak spot. I don't know that much about them. I know I have seen publications do very, very well. So my absolute favorite story of this is Darby, who is the editor/owner of the publication Creatures. She has a very, very targeted plan. She adds writers, she solicits stories to add to her pubs. She's very, very good about sending out a regular newsletter that I read and I click on stories because I know what I'm getting. So I would say that adding targeted readers is a pretty good approach. And I mean, if you average 35 followers a week, what is the math? Somebody better at math than me. Back of the napkin math. Hang on, let's see. So that's about 100 every 3 weeks, which is, I mean, that's a pretty fast growth rate, I would say. So I would argue, yes, that is a good approach for a self-owned publication. But I think the best approach is one that's story-driven rather than follower, like adding people-driven. So like get good stories in your pub and then people will follow. But that's a pretty boring answer. Justin, how long did it take to start earning my first few $100s a month? My first month, I've made about 80 cents. You're in great company. Fun fact, in case you didn't know this, half of all Medium writers, like 50%, don't make anything at all on Medium. So if you're making anything, you're already like in the top 50 percentile. I actually there is a lot of luck involved in Medium. And right as I started writing was when they started doing this curation. So I could write stuff when I first started writing. I'll show you way back when. You'll see that my second month on Medium 2 years ago now was when I first started making like hundreds of dollars. And that was because curation started happening right around then. So it was partially a case of good writing, but also a case of being in the right place at the right time. When stuff got curated back in those days, it was like rocket fuel. Like I could guarantee thousands and thousands of views on my stories if they got curated and like 10 if they didn't. Things are a little different now, obviously. All right, I'm going to be quicker about answering questions so I can get to more of them. How many blog posts do you think it takes to get a decent side income from Medium? I often feel like I'm chasing a carrot on a stick. From Gareth. Yes, you're right. There is no definitive answer. Honestly, I don't know the answer to this. One of my favorite writers on the platform, Kyrie Gray, she's been writing a little longer than I have, and it took her a long time. There was no one breakthrough post for her. She wrote and wrote and wrote and got better at writing and grew her publication and slowly amassed money so that now, even when she writes less, she's still got a pretty guaranteed income of a couple $100s a month. In her case, it took like, I think 1.5 years to kind of get to that point of steadily writing. But I've seen other people that get one breakthrough post, and that's all you need really, is that one breakthrough. And then you know you can try to recapture that. No guarantees, but mileage may vary. That's my best answer. Is curation the same as hub pages or less strict? I don't know what hub pages is, unfortunately, so I cannot answer. Sorry, I do not have anything more to say on that subject. I just don't know anything about hub pages. Could I share my total earnings since I joined Medium? I could. I don't actually know. I would guess like somewhere in the vicinity of $24,000-$25,000 if I'm averaging about $1,000 a month. That would be a guess, though. I don't know for sure. If I went to college, what did I major in? I did go to college. I attended Oxford University, actually. I studied biology. I don't write a lot of biology, but I had a great time studying at Oxford. That was Simone. Rufat says, what are you doing apart of writing stories? 8 stories are not a lot. Okay, this is where Medium's royalty scheme comes in, Rufat, who's asking, like, how am I earning so much money on so few stories? Most of my money from last month did not come from those 8 stories I wrote last month. It'll have come from stories I wrote months and months and months ago. So my top earner, I wrote this story in May. The longer you're on Medium and the more hits you get, the more money you make overall. A year ago, I couldn't write 8 stories and get $2,000. I just didn't have that backlog. Now I'm in the position where if I can get 1 or 2 good stories in a month, the backlog is going to make up the bulk of my money. So like, again, this one I wrote in June. This one I wrote May. May was a good month for me. This one I wrote in August. This one I wrote in July. Like, these stories are old. The bulk of my money comes from old backlog stories. And so that's what I'm doing differently, is just writing a lot very frequently. Oh, I scrolled down too far. Is it a good idea to use Payoneer that gives you a virtual bank account in the US and connecting it with Skrill for payment? Akash, I actually don't know the answer to that. I am very fortunate in that I'm in one of the countries that Stripe permits, so I don't know much about the workarounds. I've heard that is an okay approach. You can do the same using TransferWise. no guarantees. I've never done this, no promises. But I believe you can use TransferWise, or I guess Payoneer, to create a virtual bank account in the States and then connect Stripe to that. I believe there are pretty high tax rates or transfer fees or something like that. I don't know for sure, but I have heard of people using that approach successfully. Let's go back to a more interesting page while I'm answering questions. I tried Medium, wrote one article and didn't pay attention, got an email, it earned 7 cents or 70 cents. Wrote another to post in its publication. Should you keep going? Jojo, honestly, if you like writing, yes. If you are finding this tiresome, boring, you don't want to write, then don't. That would be my short answer to you. I love writing. I love earning money for writing, but if I didn't love writing, this would not be enough to make this a full-time gig. Like, you do have to work really hard, and if you don't enjoy the process of writing and putting your work out there in the world, Medium probably isn't a great side income for anyone. How I complete stories and in how much time. Ratna, I've actually done a couple of, Ratna asked that question. I've actually done a couple of live writing sessions on YouTube. They're so much fun, and it means that I have a pretty good estimate of how long it takes me to write stories. It takes me about an hour to write a decent story. So like, it'll take me a little longer to write a higher quality story. But yeah, an hour and a half. You cannot get money for writing in another language, Javier asks. Sorry, to follow up on your previous question. You can get money. This is a really good question because it makes me underline an important distinction. Curation does not equal money. Reads equal money. Curation helps you get reads. So to prove my point, let's look at this story, which was curated, and this one, which was not. Javier. So this story got curated in music. It got 700 views and $8. This story was not distributed. It got 2.2 thousand views and it earned $54. Curation doesn't mean money. So you can, if you write in Spanish or any other language and people, Medium members, are reading your work, you will get paid for that. It doesn't have to be curated. This is one of the greatest things about Medium, is that even though you do have to play by their rules, if you want to like get the easy way to get ahead, like you want to write to be curated, you don't need to. So like, this wasn't curated because this didn't meet the curation standards, but it didn't mean that I didn't earn money for that story, which is really nice. Do I need to have a niche in Medium to have more audience, or does having a niche affect how much audience come back to read your blogs? This is from Hasty or Hasty. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. That is a really good question. My favorite thing about writing on Medium is that you do not need a niche. So if you look again at my list of stories, you'll notice these are curated in like a ton of different topics, right? I write about my life. I write about writing. I write about money. I write about relationships, business, self, psychology, productivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The really cool thing about Medium is the way it distributes your content to your followers is topic-based. So for example, if one person only reads my cat stories, if you're out there, thank you. Nobody seems to enjoy them. And they only follow me for my cat stories and they follow like the pets topic, Medium will only show them stuff when I write it about cats. They won't see any of this stuff necessarily. Medium knows what they like and they know that they follow me, so it'll show them stories that they think I've written that they'll like. This means that you can write about literally anything. The audience potential is much, much broader than a traditional blog. And I think this is honestly a more honest, genuine reflection of our relationships with people, right? So when I talk to my friends or my colleagues or whatever, I don't only talk about one thing like travel or cooking or photography. I talk about anything that interests me and they talk to me about anything that interests them. And that makes a more fulfilling relationship. It's the same on Medium. If you're interested in all these different things that I am too, then, you know, we'll be together. We'll have a happy reader-writer relationship. What do I think about the new Medium algorithm they announced recently, Ola? I'm very interested to see what happens with this. In the past, Medium has made some pretty jarring changes and they've gained readers, lost readers, gained writers, lost writers over the years. So for example, a year ago, around October of last year, they made the change. You used to be paid based on the number of people that clapped for your stories, and they changed that to be the number of people that read your stories. This was really, really controversial, believe it or not, because there were a lot of Facebook groups that had these like clap threads where you would post something and then you'd clap for everyone who'd posted above you and so on and so forth. It was a good way to get your foot in the door, but it wasn't an accurate reflection of quality as Medium saw it. Medium thinks that if somebody spends a long time reading your story, that means that it's worth more, so to speak, than if someone just claps for your story and bounces. I am inclined to agree. I think that reading is a better hallmark, a better trait, I guess, of quality than just clapping for something. Plus, you had a ton of people who would read loads on Medium, but didn't know that they could clap for stories. So it meant that you got paid for their time on your work, not just if they knew how to clap. Sorry, to come full circle, that was one of the bigger changes. This change could have some serious ramifications like that. My biggest concern is that it means that if I publish something and all 13,000 odd of my followers will get a notification, they're probably not going to want to follow me for much longer. And I'm worried that it'll actually take away my favorite thing about Medium, that you can write without needing a niche. So like, for example, if I write about my 3-step plan to make money by writing fiction on Medium, and people who follow me for my creativity stuff, they see that I publish that kind of thing and they're going to be like, I don't care about her Medium plans. I am unfollowing her immediately. That's my biggest concern. My biggest hopes is that it's going to mean that followers mean something again. So again, I have 13,000 followers. You can see that even with curation, it doesn't mean I'm getting 13,000 reads. I mean, if you scroll down, I mean, these have been on the platform longer, so they have more views, but I'm not guaranteed 13,000 views every time I publish, or even half of that, or even 10% of that. I sometimes just get a couple hundred views and I just have to live with that. So those are my hopes and fears for the new algorithm change. I guess like everything else, we'll just have to see what happens. Mia Miguel says, it seems for the new writers, the most important thing if you want to succeed is writing quality articles. Yes, I used to believe it was the opposite. I used to think quantity mattered over everything. So if you look back at some of my previous months, especially like a year ago, I kind of started burning out and started writing lots less. So let's look at, I don't even know what year this is. I think this is my very first month on Medium. And then let's try this and see, you can see how often I publish, hopefully. Anyway, my point is I used to publish like literally every day, sometimes, oh, it's not showing. That's frustrating. Yeah, I used to publish every day, sometimes twice a day, and just hope that I got lucky. I now spend more time writing stuff. So like, even though it only takes me an hour of active typing, I'll leave, I'll come back, I'll have a think, I'll pull in external sources. I spend a lot more time writing about stuff I care about rather than, oh yeah, here you go. You can see how often I published. Yeah, so like you could see I was publishing almost twice a day most days. That's an insane amount of work, and I was getting paid so much less because these stories just didn't go very far. So yes, now what I would say is for new writers, quality matters over everything. Try to write less and spend more time on single articles. Really work on getting them into good, high-value publications that guarantee engagement on your stories, and experiment with what works. Like try different publications, try different story topics, but spend more time writing less would be my opinion. So Mia Miguel, I absolutely agree with you there. Is it okay to send a second draft to a publication while you still haven't received an answer for the first one, given you waited a couple of days? Asks Newhold Arnold. This is an interesting question. I can see both sides. So I'll tell you a story to answer this question in a little bit of a roundabout way. I wrote a story, and it was about something that was happening pretty timely, in a timely manner on Twitter a couple months ago. It was about, you probably didn't see it, but it was a story about these bots that stole artwork on Twitter. And it was about a thread that was going viral. And I published it because I wanted it to be published. I didn't have to wait for a publication to accept it. But in the meantime, I submitted it to Better Marketing, even though it had already been published. I was hoping that they would accept it as is. Oh, I don't know what happened to my stats there. There we go. while I was waiting for Better Marketing to process that story, 10 contacted me and said, we would love to have this story in our publication. And then I did a really shady thing. I unsubmitted it from Better Marketing to put it in 10 because I thought 10 would kind of give my story a better chance to fly, which, I mean, I can't guarantee it. It might have done really well in Better Marketing. I have no idea. So especially when publications make such a difference to the success of your story, I definitely get why you would want to shop it out to as many as possible and just see. But the danger is that while you're waiting for one and you have a second draft with the other of the same story, I'm guessing. Oh, sorry, well, it doesn't matter. I would worry that you both would accept it at the same time and then you'd have duplicate content on the website. So I would submit one, wait to see if they get back to you or not. And then if they say no, at that point, submit it to a different one. However, I'm now realizing I maybe misunderstood the question. If you have story A with a publication and you're waiting for them to get back to you, it is absolutely okay to submit story B, different story, different draft in the meantime. It would not be okay to submit the same draft it's like a different draft of the same story to a different publication while you're waiting, because that would lead to potentially having duplicate content. Pippa said, anyone recommend any good books on writing? The best books that I've read on writing are actually not books about writing. They're books that are very well written, mostly fiction fantasy, which I love. It's my favorite genre. That doesn't help you much, Pippa. Sorry about that. I would say that actually, if anybody has any recommendations for Pippa on best books on writing, please post in the comments because I would also love to know. Please recommend top 5 writers on Medium who beginners can follow and learn how to write good, successful articles from them. Okay, number 1 recommendation, Shanta Grimes. She is amazing. She does such cool work. She's actually also like a professional writer. I'll show you her profile. And about a year ago, she did a really cool experiment on Medium where she made a fake profile and started from scratch just to see if like a regular day 0 writer could still make a lot of money on Medium. So I would follow her and I would follow her publication. Where is it? The Right Brain. She posts a lot of really, really high value stuff in those stories if you're a beginner and you want to learn how to do well on Medium. The second person I would follow, Shannon Ashley. She is one of my favorite authors on the platform because she doesn't write about what is typically successful. When I joined Medium, at first, all I saw was self-help or programming articles, and I didn't know that much about self-help or programming, so I was a little intimidated. Shannon Ashley writes, honestly, very vulnerable. Yeah, here she is. Very vulnerable, very emotional, very honest stories about her personal life. It's the kind of thing that you don't expect to see a lot of on Medium, but she makes it work. She was like one of the first authors I knew of that was making like $5,000 or $10,000 a month on the platform. Really, really incredible stuff. So those are 2. The third would be Tom Kugler. He was who got me into Medium. I watched a webinar of his, 2 years ago now. And he was like, you should be writing on Medium. And I was like, you know what, Tom? Maybe I will. And here we are today. He does really good stuff for beginners. I'll show you him. Tom Kugler show. Here we are. Yeah, he does really cool stuff. Let's see, who else? You know what? I'll stop at 3. I don't want to find your own heroes and authors. There are probably new authors that I don't know. Like these were all here well before I was. There are probably other newer, cooler authors out there. So that I just haven't seen or heard about. So if you have any recommendations for beginners on Medium to follow, please post them in the comments. I'd love to see them. Where I want to scroll on comments. Oh, here we go. Okay. Should you respond to negative comments? If you don't at all, do you believe it creates a bad image for future readers of the article? Asks Sassy and Awesome. It would be really funny if that was your given name. That'd be pretty cool. You do not have to reply to any comments. I don't reply to any comments on my Medium blog. I found out early on that I am super thin-skinned. I take comments really personally. And even though my original plan was to reply to all my comments to build my tribe, and try to make like a community. I just found I couldn't do it. It took too much time. It took too much energy. So I didn't reply to any comments. I replied to my YouTube comments because they mostly tend to be just questions, which I can help with, rather than like comments about the quality of my work. So I would say you don't have to. Don't feel like you're obliged to reply to comments. I think on Medium, if you want to be successful, it has to be something fun for you to do. And if you come on the platform and you're already dreading replying to negative comments, you'll stop writing. And I don't want you to do that. I want everyone to write who has something to say. So if you're finding that it's like you're dreading answering these negative comments, I would say just don't. Answer the positive ones. You're here to write. You don't owe anybody anything. It's possible that you can start a dialogue with these people and learn some from them, and they can learn from you, and you can have a bit of a conversation in the comments. But in my experience, you don't have to. And if it's making you worry about your writing, then I would recommend not doing it. Yes, Gareth, I agree. Everyone put your Medium usernames in the chat. I would love to see what people are writing, what people are doing, what people are struggling with or like doing really well. So put your Medium usernames. I'd love to see them. How much time is too much time to wait for publication to get back to you about a draft? Autumn, that is a very good question that I still don't know the answer to. My best answer is that, I'm gonna see if I can stop sharing my screen. I can show stats if we get to one of those questions later. My best answer for that is that there will be submission guidelines from most of the bigger, more reputable pubs. So most publications will tell you what you should expect. If they don't, my rule of thumb would be 3 days. If you're really desperate and you really want a publication to take your work, I've waited up to a week before, but after a week, just assume that the answer is a no and they haven't been kind enough to tell you. Will this be uploaded? I hope I can. Normally when I finish a broadcast, it's automatically uploaded to YouTube. So yes, says Fatima. Tim Denning is also a great one to follow on Medium. One of his like superpowers almost is that he can just put out so much high volume, fantastic content, and he is frequently on the most popular list. So he's really good if you want to see like a model of success on Medium. He puts out tons of stuff and goes viral pretty regularly. I love to write on Medium, but it doesn't take a lot of time. What during the day should I do apart from writing for a few hours a day? Well, like for me, I have a day job. Sorry, this is Rufat asking. I spend most of my time working at my day job, and then during my free time, I write on Medium. So if you don't have a day job, one thing you could be doing is looking for additional freelance opportunities. So for instance, what I think a lot of writers should be focusing on is using Medium as a vehicle rather than as the destination. And that comes from one of my other favorite writers, Felicia Sullivan. She has such an honest, candid voice. She's very, very sharp in writing, and she's often quite caustic, but I love that about her writing. She writes beautifully. So that comes from her writing, not mine. She says, Medium should be the destination, the journey, not the destination. And what she means by that, and what I mean by that, is use Medium to get to other things. So as an example, I am now a ghostwriter. So I write stories for other people and get paid more than I typically do for a Medium story. I am doing content writing for a company, and again, they're paying me a ton of money, way more than I normally make on Medium. You can use this as a gig to get into additional publications. So like use your work on Medium to leverage a byline in Business Insider, Fast Company, Thought Catalog. These are just off the top of my head. So if you have a lot of free time and you want to do better in writing generally, try to get off Medium. Try to move on to a new platform, develop some new contacts and some different avenues of revenue, because on Medium, there are no guarantees. That's one of the best things and one of the worst things. What do I think about Medium's new policy? This is from Abhay. There are a lot of new policies on Medium. So if you want to be more specific in the comments, please do, and I will get back to you on that question. In the Medium, Kapil asks, how much time do I typically spend writing on Medium versus editing? I'd say it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So I spend let's say 45 minutes writing an article, and then I'll spend 15 minutes editing it. The fastest way for me to edit is just to read it aloud. I tell this to everyone. It is cringy. It is horrible. Record yourself reading the story aloud and play it back to yourself, and it will be the best, fastest way to make your work way better. You'll catch structure, you'll catch flow, you'll catch grammar, typos, etc., etc. It's awful because if you're like me, you hate hearing the sound of your own voice, but it's super, super helpful. Are you on any magazine off Medium? I am, as a matter of fact, as of, I don't know, this month, I think, Mind Cafe, okay, this doesn't really count because Mind Cafe is on Medium, but Mind Cafe also published a physical print magazine off Medium. My story won't be in this edition, but it will be in the next one, and I'm super excited to see it. I've never written for like a physical magazine. Other than that, I am also in Pop Sugar, I am in Business Insider, Positively Positive, so that's where I am off Medium. Where do I write besides of Medium, for Ghost or any other? Medium's pretty much my gig. I have done some very little writing on LinkedIn. I write under my real name, which I guess in this instance is almost like my pen name because nobody knows my actual name, so I can freely write under it. That's where I do a lot of my like day job writing, or like writing for clients who don't necessarily want to be associated with like the Zuli persona, which is fine. Is it worth adding audio to articles? I would say yes, with the caveat that I don't do it because it takes too much time. I went through a phase of adding like a recording to all of my articles. I want Medium, honestly, to have like an inbuilt audio tool so I can just record myself as I read it and have that embedded in my article for two reasons. A, sometimes people are too busy to read and they prefer to listen, and I've been there, no judgment. Sometimes I am like, I don't know, shampooing my hair or something, and I still want to listen to an article as I do that. Secondly, accessibility. Not everyone who wants to read can see, or can't see very well or lost their glasses. So putting the audio version of your story in your story does make it more accessible for others. So you know what, Ola, that's actually something I personally want to work more on. Is there a place for satire on Medium, or does Medium have strict guidelines towards humor? There are a couple publications on Medium that do satire and humor very well. My favorite, Jane Austen's Wastebasket, editor Kyrie Gray, who I mentioned earlier. The Junction and Slackjaw are also really good publications for humor, satire on Medium. I'd recommend checking those out. They will give you a pretty good idea of the type of humor that does well on Medium. But there are no rules, as long as you're not like writing hate speech, which hopefully you're not, it's fine. You can pretty much put anything you want. Your Rufat is 15, studies in the 9th grade, would love to become a full-time writer. I think it's possible for him or her to become a ghostwriter now in your time, or should you write a little bit more? So I became a ghostwriter like on request. I did not go out looking for it, if that makes sense. Somebody was like, hey, I love what you do. Can you do this for me, but under another name? And I was like, yeah, all right. So that only came like 2 years after I'd been writing full time, and my writing has improved immeasurably. So rather than to do with your age, I would say write more just to improve your writing. You can be 15 and a fantastic writer. You can be 50 and a fantastic writer. It's more to do with how long you've been writing versus your age. What is my real name? Ravi, it's a secret I will never reveal. Well, I mean, I'm not precious about it, but I don't know. I would prefer to keep it under wraps for now. As a beginner, which publications should I submit my articles to? Pratik, dream big. I would aim to try to get into publications like Mind Cafe, Better Marketing, Better Programming, Better Humans. Those are all really good ones. Entrepreneur's Handbook. I'm trying to think of like all the different. The Ascent is a good one. I named these publications because for beginners specifically, because I've seen beginners write in those publications and do really, really well right off the bat. I'll take this minute to talk about Illumination really quickly. A lot of people say, oh, Illumination contacted me to add my story to their publication. Is this good? Illumination is a great publication for new and up-and-coming writers to get their foot in the door. They do have a really big audience, and there is a chance that that audience of readers will see your work. There's also a chance that they won't. Publication followers are just like profile followers. They're a potential, not a guarantee. So even though, like, for example, the startup has, I don't know, 500,000 followers or something like that, I'll get 500,000 views on my stories in the startup because they publish so much. And the Illumination also has a really high volume of publishing per day. So if you're just trying to connect with other writers, connect with some new readers, just write an A publication, the Illumination is great, but I would suggest as you start getting more experience, cast your eyes towards ones that have a lower publishing volume. So I believe some of like the ones I mentioned earlier, aim for just like 10 to 15 stories per day. And that means that your story will have a much, much greater chance of being viewed by the entirety of the followers of that publication. What software do I use to write, Javier? I use the internet. I write on Medium. I don't write on Word or anything. I just use Medium's inbuilt editor. What are my tips on growing a new publication? Yeah, honestly, as I mentioned, all publications are my Achilles heel. I've not done a huge amount of work building one myself, so I can only speak to people who have done a good job. So I think I said Darcy earlier, but I should have said Darby because her actual name is Darby from Creatures has done a fantastic job growing her publication to a high number of followers in a short amount of time. Trying to think who else I know. I just don't see that many. Nobody tells me about their new publications. So actually, if you're a new publication owner and you've seen rapid growth, let me know. I would love to hear what you've done and find out more about how I can, or how you or anybody can help other people trying to do the same do that. Does Mind Cafe accept topics related to design or technology? They typically stick to self-improvement. So if you can weave in design or technology to self-improvement, yes, they will. If not, they probably won't. They're very driven to their mission. For technology, I would look at maybe better programming. Design, I think it's called the UI Collective or the UX Collective or something like that. Yeah, UX Collective is a publication I would recommend for design. I'll share my screen here. They do really well for themselves. The latest. You can see how many followers they have here. Wow, they have a ton of followers. So yeah, they're the best ones for design I would recommend. Profile writers have changed. Yes, this is Ravi asking. So I am lucky enough to be one of the beta testers for the new profile. The main changes are that you can add your own header, which is something I'm planning to do this weekend, and you can see more snapshot per story. So this is my new profile page, and it's more like a traditional blog where you get a little blurb as you scroll down. I do have some design options, so I'll show you what that looks like. So I can change the color. So if I, if I wanted my accent to be, I don't know, a deep red, that's what that looks like. What color do I want my background? Maybe like a heinous green. Oh God, that's so ugly. I won't do that, I promise. I'm actually too nervous to change this. I want to do like something like a nice, like almost like this, like a nice yellow, but I've been too afraid to make any real changes yet. And you've got a couple of options for fonts. Again, very ugly. I promise I won't do this. And then, yeah, you can upload a header here, this image. You can just add one and then change the position of it, I guess. Logo. Oh, so you can add your own logo. I haven't actually seen that. And then you can change this. Oh God, that's a really big Zuli rain. Oh, you know what? I actually really like that. I think I prefer that. Okay, how do I need to cancel everything because I don't want to make this green. God, that was so hideous. And then I do want to change my heading to be design. I think what I'm actually going to end up doing is just paying someone to design this for me because I am awful at UI and UX design. I'm just so bad at it. And then I do want that centered. Is it here? Yes. All right, publish. I like that. All right, sorry, you're bearing with me while I live design my profile work. Sumit asks, will keyword research work on Medium? The answer is yes. Medium has a super, super high domain authority, which means that even if you don't get any curation or you're not in any publications, keyword research means that your story will really fly on Google. As an example, let's see if I can find this story. Stats. I wrote one about being ghosted by my friend of, I don't know, I was like 12 or 13 when it happened, and we were best friends, and then the next year she just like stopped talking to me, and it traumatized me. So obviously I wrote about it. And the story did really well despite not being curated. And the reason was it got picked up by Google for ghosting and best friend. And the reason I know this is because you can see here in the stats, only 3% of my 22,000 views on this story are from Medium. The vast majority are from Google. So people, I wonder if I could actually find it. Ghosted best friend. Let's see. Yeah, look, there's my story on the front page of Google for ghosted best friend. So yes, research your keywords. You will get views. I don't know when they're going to be available for everyone, the profile customization tools. I think right now they're keeping them not under wraps exactly, but in beta testing. There has been a lot of controversy. There's always controversy on Medium. People were really mad about the changes. So I think they're going to try to iron out some of the finer points before they release it to GA or general audience. The main sort of issues that people had with it was originally this link wasn't clickable, and that really bothered some people because Medium is not the end-all be-all platform. It should be a tool to get people off of Medium to find you elsewhere. So like I collect people for my mailing list here. That's what I like. But other people are like, come check out my photos on Instagram, and they should be allowed to do that. So when that link stopped working, people had words for the Medium designers, bless them. The other main differences are that earlier, you could obviously have your featured story at the top. That has changed. You are not, like, there's no way to do that now. And I agree. I want more customization, less around the way it looks and more around the way I lay out my stories. I don't like the chronological display because I don't know, like I don't think my latest work is necessarily what I want everyone to judge me by who comes to my profile. But I do want to have, like, I didn't love the featured story as a solution, but I don't like that they've taken away the option altogether. My favorite place to write. To be honest, I'm a bit of a homebody. I do most of my writing right here in my home office. Sometimes I take my computer outside to the backyard and do some writing there. What are some extra income streams for a writer? All right, I will tell you my favorite income streams for a writer. You guys are one. I am on YouTube. I make about $250 a month from YouTube videos. So if you're watching this, thank you, because you're contributing to that. I make about $250 from my Patreon. Again, if you're a Patreon contributor, thank you. So that's an additional stream of income. And then also, like, my clients outside of my Medium work probably contribute somewhere between $500 and $1,000 on average a month. So all of that stemmed from Medium, though. So I used Medium, again, I keep saying this, as a vehicle to get to those additional income streams. Do publications like Better Humans, asks Vinay, who pay you per accepted article, accept articles from people who are not in the partner program? I don't know. You'd probably have to ask them. They probably have a better idea of what is and isn't permitted on the platform. TikTok math viral girl is #1 on Google. Maybe that's why I did so well, because it's just lots of external traffic. I do remember I Googled like TikTok math girl when I first noticed this happening, and there was only one store. This store was the only one on Google about it. So I was like, yes, it's my chance to get in there and get all that tasty traffic. All right, I will probably be wrapping up because my throat is very dry from doing all this talking. And I normally have like a little hot drink with me, but I forgot mine today. I will leave you by saying, thank you so much for coming to these kinds of things and asking questions. Anybody who's left a comment on any of my videos, I read every single one. I try to answer as many as I can, and they're the inspiration for videos like this. People ask me a lot about my income and how I made money on Medium, and I thought that this was the best, easiest, and honestly most transparent way to go about it. So if you're one of those people who ask that questions, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I want to be helpful, and the more people ask, the more I know about how to be helpful. Well, yeah, I'm not, sorry. I don't even know what MacBook I have. Maybe like a 2019 MacBook Pro, probably. But I was wrapping up, sorry, I saw a question and got distracted. So I will leave you with this. I will probably do this again next month to see how September is shaping up. I don't know what I'm expecting. I haven't really had any hits this month yet, so who knows? Might be a might be a dud. The nice thing is that I've already earned $364 this month. What day is today? The 5th. All right, so might be a good month for me after all. But yeah, as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you like this kind of video, subscribe, and I will try to do more. And thank you for being here, for watching, for asking questions. I love being able to do this, and I love doing it with you all. So have a great rest of your day. And yeah, I'll try to get to any questions you guys have in the comments a little later. So talk to you all soon and see you on the next video. Bye.